got here? Pressure. Speed. So let's run these models. The sun's off to the left. Let's see what happens. It does look like it's moved around a little bit. So, you know, I do think that's probably the beginnings of what we're starting to see. And you know, it's just going to get a little bit stronger and stronger and stronger. With that solar wind stream, it's not going to be like an initial blast, okay? What's going to happen is it's going to do that slow uptick, and then when the CME gets here, that will be a blast. I'm going to point this out too, right here. See how we're notched out right there? That's an anomaly that's been showing up right in front. So, yeah, we can expect, you know, if we get hit, like right there, man, I mean, stuff happens. Aurora photographers, I guarantee you, they're on high alert because they're going to want to be out there getting those pics. Those are, it should produce some really, really good auroras. Probably down pretty far. I would say down towards Colorado even. They can get down that far. Get where? It's a global thing. Kari, I'm assuming it's Kari, right? It's a global thing, but it does matter which side is sun facing. And the sun facing side, according to this timeline here, it's going to mean that like the United States is facing, or close to it, will be facing the sun when the brunt of this hits. You know, but that's still up for grabs because we don't know exactly how fast this stuff is moving. But what I will say that when it does hit, the energy will wrap around our planet. It will definitely come in through the poles and any cracks that are out there. Yeah, I just said that, Rip. You know, it could get down close to Colorado, maybe a little further. We've seen them down, you know, pretty low before. Let's see what this shows. This is like a historic thing, though. Okay, if you look at the timestamp, it's only going to bring us up to current time. It's not going to forecast anything in front of it. Now you can kind of see where it got kind of intense right there. Dragging through here. This is what we got right now. So as things start to increase, we could see this thing. This shows you how it wraps around our planet. You want to know how? Because we don't see aurora except for when? At night, right? There are those few occasions you get daytime aurora, but not typically. It's a rare thing. But the sun's facing here, so if we get hit here, it's still going to send energy over this way. So you understand. Now this is the Australian model. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because it is going to show us what's going on currently. So look at the density, how the density is now starting to rise. 12.4. Matter of fact, I think it was actually stronger than that. Let's see. Yeah, 13.3. So that's starting to increase, guys, the density is. So that means this stuff is now starting to get here. So let's do this. Tracker. This is the NASA model, alright? Tracker. And you can see where it's got just a slightly different timeline. Now, I can't slow this down unless I record it and slow it down myself. But you guys get a good idea here what I'm talking about. But this one's really got this thing hitting about almost the exact same time as that solar wind stream hits. It doesn't look like that's what's happening. right now I'm kind of trusting this right now. I'm kind of trusting this right
All right. Actually, I have a discussion now, so let me kind of start talking about the subject matter. It's time. There's mighty seven of you who are here. Let me get plugged in. First off, thank you all for being here. I am Verte Robusto. This is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on Facebook and on YouTube, and in the Akashic Records. I am have been assured of that. Oh, and make sure you smash the like button. Share my video and tell people to come over just to hit the like button. Why? Because I'm insecure and I need people to like me. I don't care if you get what I'm talking about. Just hit the like button. Um, I'm kidding, of course. Sort of. So I'm kidding, of course, sort of. Okay. So all right. All right. So the thing about your hearing and the ears is that there's crystals. Okay. And one of the things that I have been dealing with lately when I do these, I just have my new studio kind of set up here so I can kind of start doing these videos for people and do them regularly and get commentary from people. And we talk about this is that the crystalline structure. It's but the piezoelectric principle. That's it. So one of the things that I'm talking about here in the comments is about the crystals is that your DNA is a crystalline structure, and your ears are also crystalline based, and so they also will start ringing and vibrating at a certain frequency if you uh how do I say this? If you uh they the sympathetic resonances, that's the phrase, sympathetic resonances. um so when you are around people, you take that vibrations in. When you are around electromagnetics, which is what these are, you're going to take this in as well. And so the 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 important part of getting the crystals so they don't ring is to ground out that energy. Now, if you have a legitimate, we're talking about tinnitus and we're talking about vertigo and I'm also talking about the calcification of the pineal. This is part of it. This is all part of it. Because this is not only a lesson on how the Schumann resonances work, but relative to the spiritual ascension and how do these relate to the ascension of you as a person. I'm going to tell you that they work differently than probably others in this community have are going to tell you that they work, because I think the majority of people don't understand how, relative to the Schumann resonances, how they actually work and what they're supposed to be doing, they are doing. You know, they're electromagnets that are holding resonances of your crystals. Okay, so I'm going to treat this subject as if I haven't already talked about it a gazillion times elsewhere. It's the same thing with Dutch. He keeps going over these same principles over and over to make sure you understand it. He keeps going on how to, how you yourself can, um, you know, uh, predict an earthquake, and he gives you the techniques and the tools. And so, oh wow, yeah, hey, okay, and then you can tell it to people yourself. So the principles that are here that are involved is have a calcified pineal. Yeah, exactly. And people do, and they don't know it. And it comes in many different ways. They're spraying calcium, and yeah, the calcium. That's one of the things. That's the cal literally, but it's not just calcium. It's a um calcium oxide or calcium chloride or calcium something. It's calcium chloride is salt, common table salt, but you understand what I'm saying, that it's generally given out as a compound. Compound is more, two different kind of molecules. It's made into, a compound. Like salt is a compound. It's a stable combination of two or more different kind of molecules and atoms. All right. All right. Um, so the calcium, which is what your bones are made of, and then there's things that, like in the, not to get too far into this, but like in the chemtrails or whatever, they spray stuff to actually bind with the calcium that's in you to kind of leach it from you. Like there's these kind of things that are in there. Um, so the crystalline structure of you as a person is really important. Not only your bones, the calcium, but also the proteins and the saccharides of your DNA, the proteins, amino acids, and the polysaccharides, which are the different sugars. Okay. Uh, those are, and enzymes are somewhere kind of in there as well. So those are what your DNA are made of, and then the literal bone, tiny crystals that are in the fine crystals that are in your ear, that are in your pineal. They also call this brain dust. Okay. So I just want to go over the piezoelectric principle because it's something that I have to explain to people, because this is very important. Um, There we go. It's a very important piece of what's happening with the Schumann resonances. That the piezoelectric, and this is a review for some of you. It's brand new for some of you. All right. So the piezoelectric principle is piezoelectricity is electric charge, and you can see what the charge is there, plus and minus. Okay. Current. The difference between electric charge and electric current. Charge is plus and minus, positive and negative. Current moves in a direction, north to south, east to west. That's the difference between charge and current. Okay, so charge is amplitude. Charge moves top down. Okay, so charge moves positive down to negative, generally speaking. Okay, so electric charge, there we got that already, that accumulates in certain solid materials such as crystals, okay, of your crystals, that's of your ear, your inner ear, ceramics, okay, and biological matter such as bone, DNA, and various proteins, and response proteins. We got the curly things there. All right. In response to mechanical stress, okay, stress as opposed to strain, the word piezoelectricity means electricity resulting from pressure and latent heat. It is derived from the Greek word, piezen, which means to squeeze or press, and then this Greek phrase here, electron, which means amber, an ancient source of electric charge. Okay, French physicist Jacques and Pierre Curie discovered piezoelectricity in 1880. The piezoelectric effect results from the linear electromechanical interaction between the mechanical and the electrical states in crystalline materials with no inversion symmetry. All right. You can read there what it says. In crystallography, a point group which contains an inversion center is one of its symmetry elements is. They're talking about the geometry of how it's put together. Okay, so it's strong one way and it gives another way. I think that's the way to kind of phrase it. It allows it to kind of move in a certain way. The inversion symmetry. Okay. The piezoelectric effect is a reversible process, meaning materials exhibiting the piezoelectric effect, the internal generation of electrical charge resulting from an applied mechanical force, also exhibit the reverse force. There you go. Also exhibit the reverse piezoelectric electric effect, the internal generation of a mechanical strain resulting from an applied electrical force. All right, okay. So I've gone over this before. This is new to some of you. It's old hat to some of you. All right. So why this is relevant, and this is the first principle. This is the first one of a few that it's important to know. One of them is magnetic induction, as in the principle of an induction coil, which is what your ear is, and then there's ferroelectric, which is a fluid, basically a material that conducts electricity, which your ear. That's part of in the semicircular canals of your ear. You find this somewhere here. All right. So in the actually, let me just go here to where it says this. All right. I'll read it to you here. The normal. I think this is probably a good point to read the actual literature, what it says here. All right. So this is what is your ear. All right. So this is the tympanic membrane, the eardrum. Okay. This is the canal. Then you have this little. It's a thin sheet of skin. There's a bone hits another bone. Then it kind of hits this nerve connection point. I guess that's the best way to put it. Then you have these three ducts, semicircular canals, they call it. These are your balance up here in the top. Okay, and then you have down here where this snail shell is looking thing, that is the cochlea. So these are filled with a fluid up here that tilt. When you tilt your head, it puts a pressure on the little crystals, and that's these guys here. These little crystals, okay, so those little crystals there, they can get loose, and that's what the typical tinnitus is those crystals are vertigo. I'm sorry. Vertigo is when the crystals are loose. Tinnitus, the ringing is when the hairs are bent on the inside of the shell, the cochleal shell here. All right. So this is good golly. All right. So I'll just read to you what this works because this is really important. I hear this. I'm on these the websites and the comments where people, we're talking about the shift and ascension, and I'm all on that, yes. And people talk about the ringing in the ears, and I continually comment on this, that part of it is what's going on around you, and part of it is you need to ground your energies. So that was why it was important to do the live stream on grounding your energies first, is so that when we start talking about this, you understand that it's the electromagnetics in the environment around you that really is causing the problem. And it's electromagnetics if you don't have a legitimate medical problem. Like, I mean, there is this. If you have a legitimate tinnitus condition, that's different. But not, like I wrote this on the title, the phantom symptoms, so that once you have, meaning, when you've gone to the doctor and the doctor has kind of, cleared you that it's not a medical condition, you don't have the traditional symptoms of tinnitus, then what are we talking about? And then you can come in to see the witch doctor here. Me and my crackpot theories of how the Schumann affects the ringing and the vertigo in your ears, in your, the middle of your head. It's basically what it is. The ringing that you're hearing isn't necessarily even in your ears. You recognize it as a hearing, but it's a pitch that you're sensing in your senses that isn't really hearing. It's a transduction of electricity into a mechanical sound. But the ringing in your ears is not a mechanical sound in the proper sense of what sound is, and that is a mechanical a pressure. It's what they call a pressure wave. All right. So when we talk about there's good comments there about the minerals that you use, and part of this, like this, kind of even gets outside of an area of my expertise. But one of the things is we're talking about. See if I can remember. All right, so I've talked about this before, the crystal in the pineal gland. All right, this is, all right, so we're talking about crystals here. I showed you that. The first one I showed you is the crystals of the inner ear. Okay, so this is the crystal of the pineal. Okay. Oh, hi, Trish. No worries. We're sort of getting into the beginning of it now. We're fumbling around. The first thing I showed, just as a kind of introductory, I'm talking about the crystals of the inner ear. Okay, so these are the crystals of the inner ear that are found up here on in the semicircular canals. Okay. Now there's also a lining on the inside. That's why I like this picture, because it's really good. It shows you the fluid, right? The shifted crystals of what happens here. Right, these little shifted crystals. This isn't. I've used this picture in another video on the 29th of July that I had used. So this is in a video I've made. So this is the teaching aid from that video on the 29th. All right. So it shows you the little square there. These looks like little clouds, and those are shifted crystals. They're floating around in the fluid, and that's what gives you that sense of tinnitus. And down here, these are hairs down here. All right, so the loose crystals, or those hairs are bent. Those are the antennas that send a signal from the external into your brain, that electrical signal into your brain. So any sensory perceptions, there's for those of you who are just sort of in this from the beginning, that recognize the wages world we're talking in the background about, we are due to get intense solar radiation, solar energy coming in a day and a half or to 2 days, soon, very soon. And so this is what some of the people who are really leading a clean life have already sort of gotten their symptoms, the majority of it, and then they're waiting for the rest of them. Okay, so when things pop off, I know it sort of early, and then I'm always like, "What was that?" And then you say, "Oh, like okay, yeah, that's why I was in so much. I was in excruciating pain in every single joint in my body. Oh yeah, we're transmuting the energy. Okay, how fun is this to be here?" So that's part of what it is. You are a crystal receiver of these energies, and the crystals are in your very structure. They're in your very nature, and they're not going to change you. They're not changing you in the sense that people think they are. They want them to believe. You can't do this automatically. You have to willingly do it. You have to channel those energies through you. They're not your friend if you're holding on to them and them resonating. That's not where this is at, and especially because there's so much EMF radiation out there that you want to channel all of it through you, get it through you as much as you can, because that is it's electricity, and there's also a gravity to that. And you say, oh, the Schumann resonances were rising. Well, no. First off, they're not rising. The frequencies are staying the same. And more to the point, you don't get the higher ones without getting much more of the lower ones. All right. So that's the problem. People say, oh, it's rising. Yeah. And what you're also saying is the 7.8 being really well developed, very thick, very fat. It's green, and in the middle, you picture it like a green Twinkie. If you all know what a Twinkie is, it's got a cream filling. Well, it's sort of like that. The green is on the outside, kind of holding it. The bigger harmonic is on the outside, holding it in tune, and then there like as a carrier wave, and then the smaller, more fluid one that is kind of floating around, like it holds those intact. Okay, and so it becomes a gravity. Right? That's how this is all kind of linked. Is it's first it goes from electric, then to magnetic, and then to gravity as it's holding you in amber. Right? You see, we went through that. We talked about piezoelectric and how it relates to amber. And it is not a coincidence that, again, for there was someone who just got here, they didn't see the piezoelectric. I talk about piezo, well, wrong piezo. Uh, so I talk about piezoelectric getting its name from amber, and it means to squeeze or press. And again, as a review, piezoelectric works two ways: that it converts a mechanical stress into electric, or it converts electric into mechanical strain. Okay? So, what that means, stress and strain, I hope those are kind of sending off little, kind of red flags or something, and, yellow flags or red flags in you. When we talk about mechanical stress and strain, relating to the crystals in your ear, relating to the crystals of your genetic structure, of your bone, of all of you, relative to the Schumann resonances, we are talking about those bursts of power and electricity coming in, resonating first at the low, 7.8, then at 14.4, and then you add those up. It's not, oh, yeah, I'm resonating at a higher frequency. Yeah, you add up all the 7.8, and then the 14.4, and then the 20.7. You add those up. That is the symphony. That is the vibrational cocktail that you are operating at when the Schumann resonance not only is at 7.8, but it's at an amplitude of a high voltage of 60 or 70 or 80. It's encapsulating. The amplitude is quick. It's a spike. It moves quick, quick, quick. But what's left is that sharp punch, bam, and it's held intact. And that orange, let me show you. I'm using a visual aid that's not even. So there you go. All right. So these are perfect that you can see them. That's all right. Good. There we go. All right. So I don't want to talk about this. I could. I'm not going to. I'm not even really sure what that is, but that's way up there to high resonance. It's interesting. But that is definitely the type of density that we're sort of moving to. That's very interesting that this is all happening. I would expect to see more of this coming up. I couldn't tell you how it's made from looking at the whatever that was before, but this is our theoretically, in theory, this is our end goal. But first, we need to clear out this here, the 7.8, because nothing's going anywhere without. It's like a ladder. You're not, or wood. You stack it up wood. It's literally with a density. We're not building in air, in midair. That's the beautiful, wonderful thing of this, is the fact that we're establishing a density, and that's this physical presence that's created by the gravity of the Schumann resonances. All right. I don't know if this makes sense to anyone, but that's how, when we talk about the unified field, we talk about, again,
electromagnetic and gravity, and that's how this is how, if it's in there at all in any relation to it, that's how it plays out here with the Schumann resonances, that these create a gravity that it holds you to. And especially here with these amber ones, it just so happened that they picked the color of, Tomsk in Russia, just so happened randomly to pick the color of the two modes, the yellow and red, that would be in the most there held in amber of the color scheme. Here what we're looking at. It just so happens, but it's like, well, there is sometimes things to accidents that just, it's not, maybe not quite an accident that it's the color ones being the color of amber, and that's what I'm suggesting that it does. Is it's not freeing you. It's not, like, yeah, there's you being attuned with the world is wonderful, but it's not. You're looking at it through the wrong end of the telescope. You know that it's there not to make you feel better or any of that, but because it's what you need to channel through your crystals, your crystalline structure, your own personal crystalline grid to move through you into the energy center of the earth. And it's part of the reason why people get the music is super distracting. Hi Trish. The music. I think I missed something there. All right, because I'm not playing music right now, unless you're talking about my music from earlier. That's possible. All right. All right. So hopefully, give me some comments. Give me some. I'm reading the chat, and I'm trying to kind of make sure that people understand what's going on relative to the Schumann resonances, electromagnetics, how it affects how it works, the piezoelectric effect, how it and how that affects the humans and the crystals. All right. So that's where we're at here. All right. I've gotten so far. All right. Come on. All right. So I'm going to read what it says about the summary of normal ear function, just so we kind of know what's going on. All right. So the summary, and before anyone says it, I'm pretty sure. All right. So that's at 150. I think that's about the best I can do. All righty. So, summary of normal hearing function. Sound is transmitted through the air as sound waves from the environment. The sound waves are gathered by the outer ear and sent down the ear canal to the eardrum. The sound waves cause the eardrum to vibrate, which sets the three tiny bones in the middle ear into motion. The motion of the three bones causes the fluid in the inner ear or cochlea to move. The movement of the fluid in the inner ear causes the hair cells in the cochlea to bend. The hair cells change the movement into electrical impulses. Oop, sorry about that. These electrical impulses are transmitted to the auditory nerve and up to the brain, where they are interpreted as sound. The outer ear, the part of the ear that we see, is called the pinna or auricle. The pinna, with its grooves and ridges, provide a natural volume boost for sounds in the 2000 to 3000 hertz frequency range, where we perceive many consonant sounds of speech. The ear canal, also called the external auditory meatus, is the other important outer ear landmark. This part of the ear is lined with only a few layers of skin and fine hair and many veins traveling all around it. This means that there is an abundant flow of blood to the ear canal. Earwax, which is cerumen, accumulates in the ear canal and serves as a protective barrier to the skin from bacteria and moisture. Earwax is normal unless it completely blocks the ear canal, which is normal in some people. The middle ear. The eardrum or tympanic membrane (TN) is the dividing structure between the outer and the middle ear. Although it is an extremely thin membrane, the eardrum is made up of 3 layers to increase its strength. Oh, very nice. The ossicles are the 3 tiny bones of the middle ear located directly behind the tympanic membrane. These are the 3 tiny bones, smallest in the human body in the middle ear: malleus, which is a hammer; incus, which is the anvil; and stapes, which is stirrup. And their job is to further amplify the sound. These 3 bones form a connected chain in the middle ear. The malleus is embedded in the innermost layer of the tympanic membrane, and the stapes is connected to a membranous window of the inner ear called the oval window. These ossicles translate mechanical vibrations received at the eardrum into the inner ear. Okay, so for those of you, the 12 of you that were here, all right, so what we just read is this. This is the hammer, that's the anvil, and that's the stirrup, okay? Now, if you're astute, you would have said, I am astute, okay, I'll say what I'm thinking. All right, so you have all these bones in your ear that respond to the electromagnetics through piezoelectrics, which is not, piezoelectric is not a force of mechanical, it's an electromagnetic force. So, the skin here is part DNA. All right. This is bone. This responds to through the piezoelectric. This is DNA. This does all these little crystals. So in your ear, you have all this potential material that will be affected by the electromagnetics in the environment. Okay? The Schumann resonances as electromagnetic radio waves are going to pick this up and be transmitting waves. Now, or they'll be transmitting this as electric signals, as radio waves. You pick them up, you transduce them in all of this complex as sound. Okay? So, if you're able to wrap your head around that, I've talked about this. I'm talking about this as if it's just the very beginning. As if I've never mentioned this before to anyone else ever before. And this is what, this is how the relation of the ringing in your ears and the vertigo, both of them. Okay, we haven't gotten to the balance part, but basically the ringing in your ears, this is how it is induced by the Schumann resonances. And that is, the phrase is, it's induction, okay? And I'm going to even put it here. Is induction. There we go. I'm dizzy as well. There you go. So part of this is a, how do I say this? I'm going to make some coffee and speak here at the same time. So part of the problem that we're dealing with is the transduction. The best word is transduction or induction, going from one type of energy into another. Okay, I think that's the best way you can look at transducing or transduction, is moving from one form of energy into another. Yes, it's all energy, but in the world of forms, it takes different forms and it's got parameters. You have to remember that when you talk about it's all frequency, it's all energy. Yup, it's all energy, but that doesn't mean anything, right? That's a useless phrase because there are forms and geometries of things that work better some ways and not other ways, and that fit with some things incredibly well to form a new molecule or a new whatever, and then things that repel each other at their very core. And there are there are elements that are malleable, and then there's elements that are not malleable that you can't change. All right. So I'm going to play music for a minute so I can get some, I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I'm going to play music for a minute here. I am. All right. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate everyone's support and being here. The comments. I love reading the comments from everyone, and when I'm able to, and I like answering questions. All right. All right. So I'm going to read what it says here, since I have a minute. Could the spiral of the inner ear, which are depicting in glyphs, the spiral is a sacred geometry shape. You as a person, you can learn a lot about nature, about the infinite, about the universe if you study your body, because you are part of the divine plan. Your code. You DNA the seed. It starts out as a tiny thing. It's meant to exploit the. It's a code that works on based on the organics that's around it. Living, the planet itself is living. It's alive. You don't think a rock is alive, yet it's part of the process, and yet the same molecules that make up a rock or a stone or marble or whatever also are in you. They're just arranged in a different way, and some people are kind of, stone-like. They're pretty ignorant and igneous. That sort of fits the bill. And there you wonder if they're people, or some people are alive. I'll just be that honest and upfront about it, that you wonder how conscious some people are, and I think the planet is more conscious and aware and awake than a lot of people. But that's just my humble view. But by the same token, it's like, the rock has been around a lot longer than you have, and the rock probably knows more, and the rock is probably more. The rock is smarter than most people. I'll just say that. The rock's been around for longer. It's been in its form for longer. So crystals, yeah. So the general overall shape of a shell, it's one of those kind of archetypal principles of kind of ascension, that you walk and walk and walk, and then you're back to the same place, but you're not quite at the same place. The principle of a screw, of a shell. They make records, LP records, or computer hard drives based on the spiral principle of it spinning around, and you put data right there. The thing that makes data doesn't have to move. It just kind of goes around. It's a principle. It's the Earth itself is a circular, spherical kind of guide, and the Earth itself is able to provide the physical genetic material that allows for a spiral. And that's one of the, the first dimensions, I think, more than anything, is the ability, the circular ability to come back. It's a code. It's written on our code. That's why it spirals. And the shape is not random. And so there is a lot to be said for elevation that moves in a spiral and not a straight line. And there's something to be said for the first dimension, which blows people's minds. You can't really explain this to people, but the first dimension is a circle. The quickest way to get somewhere sometimes is move in a circle. And that allows something that's in your way to kind of, boop, you just circle around them. And the quickest way to transmute energy, transmit someone else's energy, is to move it around them. Not move it through them. The resistance is in them. You move it through them. You move around them. And that's when I was working at the bar and I was trying to get through a busy dance floor. I circulated. It looked like I was dancing, but I assure you, I'm twisting and turning to get out of the way, and it's like becomes a ballet of trying to get out of this person's way and moving back and forth, back and forth. Like if you're in a snow drift and you're trying to get out, you rock it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and eventually you'll kind of work your way out. If you always keep trying to hit the gas and you just get stuck there, in a circle this way. So either you circle it this way or you're circling it this way. Either or, you're going to be there a lot longer if you're circling your wheel this way, as if you kind of go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then boom, you're out. You know. So part of it is in the thinking, the straight line thinking, the amplitude, the height, the amplitude, the straight line thinking of the person, and the conscious intention of whether or not you are able to consciously channel out and channel through these energies. And that's one of the things that we're talking about, of when you get hit by these and you feel it, it's time to either go for a swim, go to take a soak in a bath. Even if maybe a steam room or something, you can get into that. Something with the water will help kind of ground you out. I think that's really one of the important things that people need to kind of remember during these times. All right, so hopefully I think that answered the question, or answered the telling us. All right, now 10,000 lakes. I'm trying to. All right, so go back again. I'm reading the comments. 10,000 lakes. You said it's a resonance. You ever see the patterns from the frost window? All right. Yeah. Yeah, they're yes, they're like snowflake kind of. The snow, water freezes, and water freezes in different ways depending on the conditions. It's absolutely amazing. You have snow, which is different. If you ever seen a snowflake under a microscope, it's absolutely amazing. And then it freezes as hail. Then it freezes as a solid. Like depending on where its conditions are, water is pretty amazing. All right, so I've talked about. All right, so this was the first part. We're here. We talked about the middle ear. We've talked about that. All right. So moving on here with the material. The inner ear. The inner ear is an organ located deep within the temporal bone, which is the bone of the skull on both sides of the ear. It's the side of your head that's over your ears, the temple. The inner ear has two main structures, the semicircular canal and the cochlea. All right, so you have two main structures, the semicircular canals and the cochlea. This one, the semicircular canals, is in charge of your balance, and the cochlea is in charge of your hearing. Okay. The semicircular canals do not contribute to hearing, but assist in maintaining balance as we move. The cochlea is the hearing organ of the inner ear, which is fluid-filled structure that looks like a snail's shell. The cochlea changes the mechanical vibrations from the eardrum and the ossicles into a sequence of electrical impulses. Sensory cells, called hair cells, bend in the cochlea as the fluid is disrupted by the mechanical vibrations. This bending of the hair cells causes electrical signals to be sent to the brain by way of the auditory nerve. The cochlea is arranged by frequency, much like a piano, and encodes sounds from 20 hertz, which is low pitch, to 20,000 hertz, which is a high pitch in human. All right. About us. All right, so you have a range of hearing. The 20 hertz is the lowest you're going to hear, and that has something to do with the resonant cavity of your head, as I believe it. And the 20,000 hertz is off the scale. Some people can hear higher than that. So technically, you can't hear higher than 20,000 hertz, but you can experience the sensation from the electroinduction that is actually at a higher frequency than 20,000 hertz. Right? So this would be controversial, but if you're able to transduce the electromagnetic waves move at a much higher frequency than the sound waves. So if you're able to transduce, at enough of the pitch, you could potentially receive a higher signal, but it's not sound. You're not hearing a sound. That's a mechanical induction, if that makes sense. Oops, sorry. All right, so they're selling themselves. If it's about mobile hearing, all right. So that was from hearing aid specialists. All right. This one here, how the ear works. All right. Here is how the ear works normally. Sound is transmitted as sound waves from the environment. Sound waves are gathered by the outer ear and sent down the ear canal to the eardrum. I give you numbers here. Sound waves cause the eardrum to vibrate, which sets the three tiny bones into motion. We saw that. Motion of the bone caused the fluid of the inner of the cochlea to move. The movement of the inner ear fluid causes hair cells in the cochlea to bend. The hair cells change from movement into electrical impulses. All right, so we know all this already. The electrical impulses are transmitted to the hearing auditory nerve and up to the brain where they are interpreted as sound. Okay, so I zipped through that, but we have already kind of gone through that. That was not it. All right. So, yeah, we have seen that. Hold on. Let me pause you out of here. X you out of there. All right. So, all right, this one looks a little different. All right. So, this is one of the things that we're talking about here. The inner ear anatomy. Cochlea, we've gone through that. The cochlea is looks like the shell. The semicircular canals are your balance center, and the vestibule is the area that's in between them. All right. All right, this looks a little different. All right, the path of sound. There are several steps that have to happen from outer ear to inner ear for a person to hear sound. Okay. The outer ear, the part that you can hear, acts like a funnel that sends sound into your ear canal from the outside world. The sound waves travel down the ear canal to the eardrum in the middle ear. Sound waves make your eardrum vibrate and move the three tiny bones in your middle ear. The movement from the middle ear leads to pressure waves that make the fluid inside the cochlea move. The movement of fluid in your inner ear makes the tiny hairs in the cochlea bend and dance. The dancing hairs in the cochlea convert the movement from sound waves into electrical signals. The electrical waves are sent to the brain through the hearing auditory nerves. This makes a sound. Okay. So all of that whole process is what can be affected by the Schumann resonances. You have fluids, ferrofluid. We haven't gotten into this yet, but there are that compressible medium in there sends it's a electrically conductive material that allows the external outside pressure waves to be conducted in your ears so that you hear sound. Okay. All right. So we are the better part water. Yes, we couldn't live without water, but the water needs a bag. We are bags of mostly water. Yes. All right. All right. So I haven't really gone over this before. Balance parts of the inner ear are the vestibule and the semicircular canals. The three semicircular canals. I'm sorry. Pardon me. I'm with you. The three semicircular canals are loop-shaped tubes in the inner ear. They are filled with liquid and lined with fine hairs, just like in the cochlea, except these hairs pick up body movements instead of sound. The hairs act like sensors that keep you with your balance. The semicircular canals sit at right angles to each other. This helps them measure motions no matter what position you're in. And there's three of them that give you three different axes. Okay. When your head moves around, the fluid inside the semicircular canals shift around. This moves the tiny hairs inside them. The semicircular canals are connected by sacs in the vestibule that have more fluid and hairs in them. They're called the saccule and utricle. There you go. And they also sense motion. These movement and balance sensors send electrical nerve messages to your brain. In turn, the brain tells your body how to stay balanced. Okay. So because of where the fluid is, the electrical signals on those crystals, they deform, the crystals deform, they send an electrical signal to your brain to let it know where, in reference of the grid, that's its internal grid of where you are. And that's why when you feel off balance, it's because of that fluid, and those crystals are getting more strong signals on the opposite side of your head of where you are. So if you felt it, how do I say this? If you were aligned with the current, you would not be feeling that disorientation. But because you're not knowing where that current is coming from, and you're kind of in a different space or a different orientation to those crystals, those inner ear crystals, you're going to feel that as vertigo. Okay, so that's my crackpot theory. And the 13 of you that are here, you know this and you understand this. Hopefully you've been around, some of you have been around long enough that you've been following what I've been saying since I've been making videos about this very thing of how the crystals of the inner ear are affected. The vertigo and the tinnitus, the dizziness and the ringing are affected by the inner ears, and how the Schumann resonances affect your inner ears. Okay. So, hearing loss. Balance issues. I'm not going to talk about that. All right. Balance issues. Most balance issues are caused by issues in your inner ear. You may feel vertigo. The room is spinning, dizziness, lightheadedness, or unsteady on your feet. Balance problems can happen even if you're sitting or laying down. Okay. So that's what they're talking about, is those crystals and that ferrofluid in your head misbehaving and sending you oddball signals that something's wrong. Okay. And because you as a person don't know how to ground it out, a lot of people don't, you're stuck with having to figure out how, what to do with it. And so that's where I come in, as I try and give you suggestions. All right. So yeah. So here's the thing about that. The vestibular ear taps into the amygdala. Yeah. So you're running into a bigger problem. So it's not just that it's being in the comment. That's a great point. That it kind of goes straight into your brain. So there's no buffer there where you would get in other places. It's, in certain cases, these senses go right directly into your brain, into a center of your brain. And that's why people remember things in different ways, is because the memories are not all in one place in your head. Memories are scattered out throughout your whole entire brain. I think it's important to realize that. It's important for people to understand that you want to think, oh, there's a memory center one place. Like, no, memories are scattered through the place where your hearing is, where your sight is kept, where the memories of your sight are kept, which are different from where your sense of smell is, where your sense of touch. And most people can put it all together, but people remember memories in different ways, much different ways, based on the fact of where memories are lodged in your head, and that they are not all stationed in one place in your brain. It's really important for people to remember that your memories are not stationed in one part of your brain. They're scattered all over your brain, depending on what the most strongest sensations that you had at the time. All right, and so that's why eyewitness evidence can be the weakest, is because people remember things in different ways. Two people, a man and wife, are there at the same event, and they talk about the same event, and they look at each other like, were we at the same event? Like, if you didn't know that you went with that person, you'd swear they weren't there at the same place. And it's not because one person didn't remember the facts right. It's because your idea of the facts are based on what you saw and what you paid attention to. It's really just that simple, and that's kind of how logic works. What you pay attention to is the most important thing. That's what's most logical. That's where your arbitrary random logical starting point is whatever is most important to you. Your interest in someone's car, that's going to be what you remember about the whole event. That's it. Not what the person was wearing, not what they smelled like, but the entirety of what their car was like. A car guy, you're going to remember the cars, right? A woman, for example, interested in shoes and bags and whatever, something like that. Someone with the hair and the dress, they're going to remember what the person was wearing. Don't even know that they had a car, right? Oh yeah, the car, the metal thing that they were in. Yeah, oh I remember that was all busted up. You don't remember that it was this kind of a car and blah blah. No, I know it was a car. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was a car. It wasn't a truck. People have this problem communicating all the time because memories are stored in different parts of the head, and that's what part of what that expression is here. What he's talking about, that the ear, well, the canal of the ear is hooked up directly into the amygdala, and we are products of where we remember certain events. I think that's the best way to put it. Um, all right. So this is one of the things that's important about when I'm talking about part of what I'm doing here is I'm going over parts of the ear so we can kind of have a commonality of understanding how the ear works, what the parts of it are. And I'm going through this because I want to make sure to kind of have a disclaimer that if you have legitimate ear problems, this is not for you. Okay? If you have a tinnitus, if you have a medical problem, this is not for you. I'm not talking how to treat your tinnitus if it's a medical problem, or if you have legitimate medical problems that are giving you a headache or that are giving you imbalance. This is not what that's about. I want everyone to understand that. I want this to be understood as like a disclaimer that there's a limit to what this is talking about. If you already have a legitimate medical condition, and the things I talk about with the Schumann related, it's going to make that worse. I think that's the simplest way to put that. That the Schumann isn't going to create this; it's just going to make it really worse because it's electromagnetic radiation gravity that's holding you intact. Okay, so there you go. Okay, thank you, Lily. Yes, there you go. So this is one of the things that we're talking about is you know, how you really, the real life symptoms of what's going on. As I've been doing these, let me get off the script here for just a minute. As I've been doing these since, the end of May, May 30th, I think I had my first couple videos actually on YouTube specifically related to the Schumann resonances. So from the beginning, my guides have been explaining to me, you need to explain how, if in any way, how the Schumann resonances affect people's feelings, affect their emotion, affect their physical being. It's not enough just to say this is what the resonances do. It's not enough to give people the principles how they themselves can read the spectrograph. It's not enough to explain it to people the best you can of how the Schumann resonances are and how they're measured and all of that. You need to also, on top of all of that, you need to start explaining to people how this is affecting us on a DNA level. And that was kind of a new concept to me at the time of like, well, how is it? Like, is it really? I started out with that question. Is it really? Is it actually affecting, us on a DNA level? I don't know. How would that happen? I don't know. Let's look into this. And that's how a lot of this came about is me saying, well, I don't think it does. Eh. There's a lot of everyone, John Q. Public and his uncle talk about, the Schumann, talk about the ascension and what the Schumann is and all of that. And like, okay, is it? Does it? All right. So that's how I started out. And so that's a great place to come from, of being a little bit skeptical, of thinking, maybe it doesn't do anything. I don't know, but let's find out what it is and what it does, and then we can say, it's, oh, what, well, it's actually, this is what it's doing. It's doing something. It is doing something, but not in a way you had thought, and it's something doing something much more significant than what you may be believing from outside sources. And that's part of one of my missions here, is to explain to people how the Schumann resonances properly work, how they function, how they get them, what's fixed about it, what's malleable about it, and how it relates to you and your DNA. And so this is one of the most important things of talking about the Schumann: the ringing in the ears, the dizziness and the vertigo. What is it? What's causing that related to the Schumann? And so this is us going through the workings of the ear, so we can see how you would be experiencing the indigo, the I'm sorry, the vertigo, how you'd be experiencing the vertigo, and how you'd be experiencing, which is the dizziness, and then the ringing, which is the non-medically related tinnitus. So if you're new here, you just joined in, this is where we're at in the narrative, that we're going through the inner ear function. This is the balance. We just went through this. Inner ear conditions, hearing loss, which I didn't go through, balance issues once again. So we're at this point, and this is healthline.com. And this is related issues of the inner ear. All right. So I will go on with the teaching material. Related conditions. Conditions in or adjacent to the inner ear can affect balance and may also sometimes cause hearing loss. These include acoustic neuroma. And part of what I'm doing is bringing up these issues here of medical related things that are legitimately medical related things, so that you understand how they're related. Okay. The Schumann resonances can be sending these electrical signals down your nervous central, and mimicking these type of symptoms. It is possible. All right. And this is acoustic neuroma. The rare condition happens when a benign, non-cancerous tumor grows on the vestibulocochlear nerve connected to the inner ear. You may have dizziness, loss of balance, hearing loss, and a ringing in your ear. Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, BPPV. This happens when calcium crystals in your inner ear move from their normal places and float around else elsewhere the inner ear. Okay. BPPV is the most common cause of vertigo in adults. You may feel like everything is spinning whenever you tilt your head. Okay. Head injury. The head injury involving a blow to the head or ear can damage the inner ear. You might experience dizziness or hearing loss. There's migraine, people getting severe headaches. Some people who get migraine headaches also have dizziness and motion sensitivity. This is called vestibular migraine. Then there's Meniere's disease. This rare condition can happen to adults, typically between 20 and 40s. It can cause hearing loss, vertigo, and a tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. The cause is not yet known. Then you have Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. This condition is caused by a virus that attacks one or more cranial nerves in your inner ear. You may have vertigo, pain, hearing loss, and facial weakness. Okay. Vestibular neuritis. This condition, which may be caused by a virus, involves inflammation, in a nerve that conducts balance information from the inner ear to the brain. You may have nausea and dizziness, so that's so severe it makes it difficult to walk. Symptoms can last for days and then improve without any treatment. All right. So all of this, it's important for you to know that, I'm always eternally. I'm reading the note from Bradley. Hi, Mark Pyros has Mark Wages on Zoom live now. Would you consider joining the live, and then I can eat? Well, I think I would, potentially. if possible. Let me see if I can. All right. I'm trying to find the what's his name? Mark Pyers. Yeah, theoretically I would, yes, if that's possible. Sometimes I don't know how to do anything. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, do a live stream. This way I can have a cup of coffee.
Child against father. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
No, you're right. I saw.
You love one. That's all I'm saying.
You know, Denise. I'm not sure if Denise is with us tonight, but Denise Budnick, she sent me the other day a clip of somebody back in '67. And the guy's reading. He's like, "Look, you want to get rid of. He said, if I was the devil." He starts doing this thing. If I was the devil, I would get the media to turn against it. He almost sounds like Joe Biden. And he goes through the whole thing. And he basically says, like, so if I was the devil, I'd just keep doing what I'm doing. And it's so true, because everything that's going on is the work of evil. And when you have people that actually try to justify it, you know what side they're on. And the scary thing is the people that are trying to justify it are also the same ones that are vicious towards the ones that just want peace. Come together. That is the craziest thing of all. I kept hearing that the right-wing white supremacists were the ones that were rioting in the streets and doing all the damage. And I said, well, that's interesting. The night that Trump lost, there was no rioting in the streets. There was no damaged buildings. Since then, there hasn't been. Why? Because Biden won, and because the left decided to say, yay, we're going to stop our assault on America. They assaulted America for 4 years, then officially went to war with America for a year, and then they were like, you know what, let's give them the Oval Office. How about that? Let me get this straight. Like, what?
I mean, if you think about it, how do they get people to believe in that kind of stuff? Any of that? What they do is, this is the oldest trick in the book. And again, I know, I'm a biblical man, so I kind of refer back to that. That's what I do. But it even says there that it's going to look beautiful. The lie is going to look beautiful. All of it. It's going to look beautiful. We're all going to want it.
Yep.
And what happens is that, the biggest tool that they have is confusion. How do they mask the confusion? By making it look normal. Well, they add beauty to it, because then we don't want to leave it. So that's what's happening around. If you look around, that's what's going on. People that are, okay financially, they're not saying a word.
No.
Okay, the people that aren't okay financially are screaming from the rooftops. The stuff that's going on right now with the pub in New York, that right there should tell people, listen, you have to understand that this guy over here, all he did was simply serve some people some cheeseburgers and beer inside the restaurant instead of outside, and you want to throw this man in jail with 15 undercover cops?
It's unbelievable.
Like a SWAT team just swooped down and grabbed him? Are you kidding me?
I can guarantee you it was on film. Was that on film?
80% of it.
So there you go. It was a press setup, because what they need to do is continue to keep us in line. This entire process has been to shutter us, because
it's a big deal though, Mark. Right now, I mean, Cuomo and Blasio are in on all that. Well, and they're going after him. They've got big time lawyers now. This little small bar owner does.
He's trying to pull a Cuomo over.
Yeah. He's the guy that they said had the cop on the hood, who was driving down the street, and they came out and said that he had broke the cop's legs and everything else, which was a complete lie.
See, I didn't see the story on that, but
You need to go watch that, man.
yeah, I'll check that out. You know, so guys, just so you know, I try to stay away from the negativity because there's too much of it. I'm like an empath. So when I start to see what's going on in the world, it just upsets me. And when I realize that I could just be the light that you guys can hopefully find something and catch something positive from, I refuse to be drained. And it's an interesting thing. We talked about this the other day, how some people like to get into conversations where they know they're going to be worse off at the end. They're going to be miserable, or they're going to feel kind of like their level went down, but they got a chance to say what they needed to say. Yeah, but you feel worse afterwards. You need to start judging what you need and what is really necessary. Those are two different things, because what you need and what's necessary are two completely different variables. And what you really need is happiness. And what's necessary, you think, like where you need to speak your mind, not always. Happiness is more important. And
Yes.
if you're up against somebody who you're going to lose because they're just a negative, you just don't get into the conversation. You know,
Right.
you got to
And
get out of it.
You know, and I think that me and you are very similar in that way, and that's kind of probably why we kind of gravitated towards each other. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. I mean, I fight against it in a different way, you know, than what most people do in my genre of what I do. When I'm showing my information and stuff, you're not going to find somebody in my genre that handles a chat room like I do. They just don't do it. And there's reasons they don't. There's very good reasons they don't. You know, we get attacked.
A lot of trolls.
You know, I mean, there's been times, and I think I shared this before, that, you know, and I only talk about this one thing, but I had somebody actually threaten somebody's life in my live chat.
Really?
And it was another channel creator. It wasn't even me.
Wow.
They actually threatened Mr. MBB3's life in my live chat. Why in my live chat? I never understood that. But, you know, that tells you how crazy things get. And, you know, obviously I had to report that, and I did all those kinds of things. That's the one and only time I've had to do anything like that. But that tells you that some people out there, and I talked about this with the, you know, the negativity part of a keyboard warrior. That's exactly what that is.
You know what it is? It's the old school.
Whatever they want to do.
And it's the old school telephone tough guy. Remember that from telephone tough guy? Like on the phone or behind the wheel, people are so tough.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. Or, you know, or it's the prisoner that's in jail with the bars shut, and then, oh my gosh, now it's rec time and the bar's open. And now everybody's going to get me. That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But that's, you know, and it's really, really, it's frustrating to watch all of that stuff just going down all the time. And we watch it all around. It just, and again, I think that the internet itself needs more like you and me and others that are trying to do this in a positive way. But we're able to accept that there's going to be some negative.
Yeah.
Okay, because there is. And believe it or not, some negative is okay because it does show us what we need to correct.
That's very true. You know, okay. I also thought it was interesting because you brought up the point. I mean, I look at how you handle the show in general, and like the idea that you put together a thank you screen for people that have donated. I just did the same thing yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta, because I'm so thankful. And I'm like, I play songs for people, I do impressions for people, and I'll do that in the moment, but I also want them to know I really think about it afterwards too. It's not just a moment thing, you know? So that was like a great lesson for me to get from you. But what I find interesting, and I want to just let everybody know who's watching right now, is we're getting close to about almost half of the amount of people that knew I existed about 100 days ago. I sat in a hole for roughly 2 years. I had 295 subs until Mark Wages found me through Sig Sauer, through Planet X. And he was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're bringing positivity to the world, and you're playing music, and you're doing impressions and making people laugh, and they won't let you be seen. We're going to change that. Well, since then, guys, we are at, I don't know where we're at right now, 2.9. So Mark is responsible, and I want to thank all of you for being here with me. We call ourselves, collectively, we're the family. He's the Wages World family, I'm the Real Talk family, but, you know, we're the family. I say jokingly that the entire planet is really in the Real Talk family. They just don't know it yet. You have no idea who I am, but I've been shining light at you for 2 years. 709 days in a row, I've been pouring light at this planet. And I don't know why, guys, but I feel like if I wasn't doing it, we may have already killed ourselves. And you didn't know I was there, but in a weird way, as an empath, I think I was affecting something in order to sort of keep this thing from getting completely out of control. And that's a stupid thing to say because 295 people in the world knew what I was doing. But I'm never stopping because the world needs light and there's too much darkness right now.
Think about this, Mark. I mean, and let me say this first and foremost. You know, I know that you're kind of giving me credit for that. Me as someone very similar to you, I would push that off, number one, to my subscribers. Number two, I would turn that back to you and say, listen, I was looking for this. I needed this. So you were doing just as much for me as what I was doing for you and for my subscribers. I was trying to, because, and I know we've talked about this before, and you've mentioned it, I've mentioned it. Everything I report on, like what I'm going to share here in a few minutes about what's going on, it's all negative stuff. I don't put it out there in a negative, fearful way.
Absolutely.
But at the root of it, it is bad information that is not good stuff. Absolutely. And I needed to be able to clear my own conscience with being able to at least trying to give somebody positive on the end of it. And that's what's happened. And I'm so grateful that everybody has, for the most part, has followed me over here. And there's been a lot, and there's still more to come, and they will come. They will come.
You're amazing.
I'm very, very confident. To this day, I have still not had anybody come back to me and regret coming over here, giving a subscription. Matter of fact, I get the opposite. Thank you. Matter of fact, if you go back and look at your live chat tonight, before I come in on Zoom, there was 4 or 5 people in there already saying that exact thing. And, because they can tell buddy. Right away. People that hadn't been here yet before.
Well, it really means a lot, brother. I want to quickly just say, Susan Donahue, you are amazing. Now, Susan, that's getting a donation to me is the most amazing thing in the world because I was here for almost 2 years before anybody did that for the first time. Sig Sauer was the first person to donate to this show. And I just want to say, Susan, you're phenomenal. I can't believe you donated to the program. Valadia, did you hear? Susan Donahue. She donated to the Real Talk program. We have to tell her. Pensy, come here. You have to say something to Susan. Susan Donahue, you're a credit to society. We're going to keep the oval. Patsy, don't tell him our secret. We're still going to keep it. It's okay, Susan. It's because of your donation that we're going to win big league. Really. Thank you so much, Susan.
It's funny you do that right there because I was getting ready to say, and I stopped so I get, because you needed to say something there. But what if one of those 295 people was Donald Trump?
Oh my goodness, I wish.
You don't know that.
Well, I think he would have liked the show, don't you think? I was doing a lot of really cool stuff. That's what I'm trying to say.
Maybe you were giving life to somebody in love that needed to see it and hear it. You just don't know.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
It could have been any.
He was taking a lot of the show.
295 is a small number, but yes, it's a small number overall. But what if one of those numbers was able to affect millions of people?
Well, you know what? That's a very, and in a weird way, if you think about it, right now there's 154 people on, and it was because Sig was affected that way enough to go out and find you and say, look, we can't let this guy just crash and burn. Because I was about 18 days away from YouTube kicking me to the curb because I still hadn't hit my quota. And I'd been live every day for 2 years, but they were keeping me in the hole and I shut my reach off. The reason I knew the reach was definitely shut off is every time I try to, since I've been monetized, every time I try to go and say, yeah, like bring this thing to monetization, I've never had a problem because I don't swear. I've never said a swear word in 709 days. We just are funny. And they decided to call me yellow every time. And they're like, hey, on the top of the screen, they're like, your ratings are amazing. We trust you. And then I still get a yellow. And I'm like, that means there's a weird thing going on with my account. So Ricky, thank you so much. And Laura Lee, you guys are amazing. Guys, my heart is pounding with love for you. And just so you know, if you're new here, which most of you are, 154, I am live every day for the rest of my life. I've been here for 709. We do 4 hours a day. We're only at an hour, so we're doing another 3. After Mark and I finish chatting, we're playing music. We have face swaps for you. I'm going to do a little more of how dare you. How dare you? Hold on now, man.
So wages, my brother.
I'm working on something too.
You are?
And I think you'll like it.
Oh, I love everything you do.
Yeah, I come across the song on one of my apps that I think everybody's going to kind of like.
Can you play that from your end?
Can I play it? Can I play the song? Maybe.
If not, you could send it over. I'll pop it in through the system here.
I think it's on my phone. I think the app's on my phone.
See if you could. The other thing I was going to suggest, I don't know if you know, it's still early. Still early.
Yeah.
We could take a couple calls.
Well, yeah, we can do that if you want.
Unless you want to hear some music.
Let's tell you what though, because let me show everybody this stuff. I want to show them real quick.
Yes, let's do that.
The information.
Let's do that.
And then we'll move from there. Okay.
That sounds great.
Can I share the screen? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, please do. I wonder if I can make it full screen somehow. If not, I'll keep it there at least so you can see. Let me see if there's a way to.
Okay.
Try something here.
So let me know if you see my screen.
Right now, I see you. Let me know when you think you've clicked over.
I thought I already did.
Oh, okay, no, I still see you.
Okay, hold on.
Wages just got the aurora behind him, and I've got I'm on like planet Earth behind me with like the star, the light of.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't see the aurora one. That would have been so much funnier because of what's going on.
I downloaded that one.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't know if it was a thing.
It might be there. I'm not sure. Daggone it, where did I go?
So while Wages is looking, I just want to say hi to each and every one of you. This show is nothing but love for you. And in that chat, hopefully you see all of our mods. I'm not sure how many mods are with us today, but we're here to level each other up. Okay, no matter how bad your day was, you will always feel better when you come here. Just show up, and I will bring you some music, and we will just laugh, and we'll let the moment take place.
Let me cut you off real quick, man.
Did you figure it?
It's telling me on my end, the host is disabled participant.
Hold on, let me see. I have to do something? All right, let's see.
Yeah, you probably have to go into your settings and enable me to screen share.
Let's see if what happens. Try that again and see if anything happens over there.
Yeah, it's going to let me now.
It's working. Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on a second. What am I doing over there? Hold on a second. I'm viewing your screen. Now,
yep.
How do I get out back to the other thing real quick?
Let me see if it's going out on YouTube. It's really, really big. You have to scrunch me down, man. Change your setting there.
I don't know what's going on here. How the heck is that?
That's probably from OBS.
What the? I'm really like...
You would probably have to go into OBS and shrink down everything there, unless I can...
Hold on a second. What the... I'm very confused, people. I'm looking at some massive screen over here. Look, old Hammerlin Jameson. Let's see if there's a way to not have it look this terrible. Old Hammer Jammer, baby. Let's do. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to try to do it. Oh, wait. Is this better?
I don't know. Let me look.
Let's see. I'm trying something else. I don't know what I just did, dude. I have no idea.
It's okay. We don't have to screen share. It's not that big of a deal, unless you just put me on full screen and get rid of your picture there.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's up to you.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Let me see if I can even get that to happen. What did I do here, guys? What did you do? Oh, how dare you? Okay, hold on a second.
You may have to go to your OBS and add a scene and put the zoom in there.
I got the zoom open, but now you're in the corner and it won't show you where you were originally. It won't bring me back to my other screen.
All right. So
stop share. Okay.
While we're waiting for this.
I see your screen. Let's see what happens if that.
All right. So I had a while we're waiting. All right. So this is more of our lesson here on.
I'm watching the YouTube feed right now, and all I see is you.
You should pop on hopefully in a second. No, it's not working.
I know there's a delay, but it's not that big of a deal. We can do something different there. We can work on that later on.
All right. So one of the things that we're looking at is. I'm watching this in the other screen to see if we get. They're still playing around with that thing. For those of you who are still here, let me plug in. All right. So, the main purpose of this was that we're talking about the ascension symptoms of ringing in the ears. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to just kind of go through this. I'm going to go through this, and then I'm going to be done because I'm at an hour and a half, and I think that probably tonight's going to be a short night for this. All right. So one of the most common symptoms that people have is the experience in times of high amplitude, the electrics as a form of tinnitus and vertigo. All right. So first, as a disclaimer, okay. If you are experiencing pains or discomforts or conditions like the space weather, you got to remember that we have a magnetic field, the magnetosphere around us that protects us. Okay. And a lot of stuff gets caught by the magnetosphere. You got to remember that. Okay. So one of the things that we're talking about is a compression of the ionosphere down to us. So the question is always what gets through the magnetic field of the magnetosphere, and then what comes to us. Okay, so whenever we talk about this, there's that that you got to remember that a lot of it does not automatically come down to us on the planet, but it gets caught in the magnetosphere. Okay, so that's something important to remember. All right. Okay, so I put a disclaimer here that if you're experiencing pains, discomforts, or conditions like ringing in the ears, vertigo, etc., these may be signs of a significant medical issue. Okay, please, please, please do not assume that all of your pains and aches are ascension-based or so-called phantom symptoms that do not have a basis in a physical problem. Okay, if you do have physical problems, whatever the Schumann resonances are that they would otherwise do, they make it worse. So if you had an outstanding condition, it would just make it worse. I'm pretty convinced that the Schumann resonances aren't going to cause you to have anything, but it's definitely going to make it pronounced problems that you have. And I think, we were talking about the ringing and the vertigo, it would induce that. It's not so much causing it, so much as inducing it in you. Okay. And maybe I can go over that in some other time. All right. So first, have your medical professional check you out first. In all cases, you should be checked out by a medical professional to seek medical treatments, assuming it's ascension-based, which are, again, physical symptoms that there's no physiological cause for. So the ascension symptoms are those that you can't find a physical cause for. If you broke your leg and you're getting pain in your bone, that's not one of these ascension symptoms because you broke your bone and it hurts. Okay. So, get yourself checked out by a doctor first. And additionally, many people lead a dirty life, which includes the prevalence of unshielded electronics, any manner of plastics, and recirculated air. If you're having pains or aches, these will simply be amplified by any EMF radiations or Schumann resonance-based radiations. Okay. In other words, if you lead a dirty life, the Schumann resonances are not causing you to be sick or ill. They're simply alerting you that you have a pre-existing issue. In many cases, the Schumann resonances are not causing you to be sick or ill. It's alerting you that you have a problem. Okay. Before saying and I always say this is another disclaimer, before saying it's a worldwide condition, make sure your local environment is in good order. So, know the environment around you and make sure that
whatever conditions you have are not being caused by local conditions instead of the Schumann resonances, which are worldwide. All right. Know what's happening between the difference between local and something greater worldwide. All right. So, with this stated, let me move on to the lesson. The Schumann resonances are radio waves at the lowest end of the spectrum. 8 hertz is the fundamental frequency with harmonic resonances at 7.8, 14.1, 20.7, 27.1, and 30.7. The resonant harmonics are electromagnetic. Let me say that again. Are electromagnetic waves or frequencies which travel around the globe. There is an initial strike of amplitude, which is electric, highly charged electrons, which are essentially forced from the upper atmosphere, the ionosphere, which has a high electric charge. This lightning, or electric arc discharge, moves vertically from top down with a high electric charge eventually grounding itself into the earth ground. These electric discharges take the path of least resistance, and we talked about that yesterday at the last webcast. Is that we're talking about the grounding, the earth ground, and you letting these energies channel through you. Okay. So that's one of the things that's important with the electrical circuit of the earth, is that you allowing these energies to move through you. Your body potentially could be this path of least resistance. It is possible these electric strikes can move through you effortlessly, well, sort of, if you are prepared and are leading a clean life. If you've ever experienced a battery failure, your car won't start, for example, due to battery terminals, dirty terminals, then you understand this principle. Electrics take the path of least resistance. It is this simple. If your terminals are dirty, then the electricity cannot move through you. It gets bunched up at your crystals, specifically those of your inner ears. That's one of the places that you hear the ringing in your inner ears, as the energy is staying resonant in there. Okay. Even worse are those who intake all sorts of conductors, and it's worse for you. The people aren't the worst, but the conditions that it has in you. So iron through red meats, especially undercooked red meats, through salts, sugar, other crystalline structures, through electrolytes, sodium, calcium, etc. You as a person are fine. Okay, whatever you do is fine. I'm not talking about you personally. Yet the problem is that you are going to feel this significantly on heavy electric days. In moderation and in balance is the key. Part of the dirty life, stopping the proper flow of energies, is excess. So if you're living a life of excess and you're accumulating a lot of excess energies, then what happens is you as a person are going to be holding in those energies. Information. All right, so I'm reading the comments. All right, so space weather affects us, yes, because there's a high charge and you can feel it in your spirit. It's more of a spiritual thing than it is your physical body. I'll just say that. All right. Schumann resonances are not, wait, actually, hold on. Excess. People with a lot of worries over their property and their accumulated stuff help to keep bunched up these energies of a lower density. The lower densities provide a blockage to the smooth movement of these resonances around you. Schumann resonances are not clearing out anything for you. With humans, there is nothing automatic. You have to want to lead a better, more clean life. It will not be done for you. The Schumann resonances are not clearing out your densities and dirt, which blocks the flow of these energies. You need to be willing to have Source clear it out for you. You need to have done the work or be ready to have it removed. The work is not going to be done for you. Nothing with humans is automatic. It is all by your free will and your choice to have these energies move freely, flow you, to move freely, move through you. That's a mouthful. With this stated, the with this stated, the following videos are discussing the technical aspects of ascension-based ringing in the ears and the dizziness of the non-medically based perceptions that you're getting of the tinnitus that's ringing in the ears and the vertigo, which is the dizziness. There's a discussion on what this is and how to deal with it. I hope you enjoyed the videos. They were intended for public service during these times of high energy output. All right, and so I will have these in the description at some point. All right. All right. So this is, it's an ongoing discussion about. I did those videos a while ago. This is an ongoing discussion about the ringing in the ears, and I had want to. There's a number of here it is. There's a number of videos I had done on this, and there's a number of pictures I had made. One of this ones is I'm showing you here. This is the ear. All right. So this is the ear acting like a mechanical induction machine. Okay. So this is inducing an electric charge from a magnetic wave, and that's a lot of what the Schumann resonances are. They're electric and magnetic waves, and they affect how we think, and they affect how we feel, and especially if they are, especially if they are, especially if those things are around you all the time. All right. So, on that cheery note, I think I'm going to close this out. I think this was a good short video, not quite 2 hours. This gives you a chance to kind of get over, any of you who are interested, to get over and see Wages on Mark's show. And I think I'm going to get over there and just speak in the comments and talk with people. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you very much. Much love to people. I'm going to be trying to do more. I want to do more of these kind of live streams as I can. I like talking with people. There's a whole 17 of you right here right now. This is amazing. So thank you all for being here. I very much appreciate this. Like, share, subscribe, share the video, talk to people about it. I try and get my posts on so you know in time that I'm doing an update, and hopefully things will work out in the future, that I can get a chance to chat with people and we can talk. So this is part one. There's more of this that's going to be discussed. But this is kind of a beginning. There's an ongoing dialogue. I want to keep to the beginning of the material. This is the beginning of the stuff. It may seem basic. I'm sorry, it may seem kind of advanced, but if we keep going over this, you'll get more and more of it, and it won't be so advanced, and we can kind of move on to some of the more complicated, truly more complicated stuff of how, now that you know what it is, it's your crystals and all of that. Now, how do you deal with it? Like, that's really what's important. It's not just what it is, but how do we deal with it? So, once we get a kind of a minimum threshold of people that know what this is, I can move on to the next step, and how, like activating your drinking water, and how we can purify and, chelate some of these heavy minerals out of a person. And, there's a lot of more complicated technical shit that as we go on, people need to know. So, thank you all for being here. I am planning on doing a live stream tomorrow. Chances are Alex is going to be with me doing that. We're going to keep to the topic. The next one that we're talking about, that we're going to be talking about, is, I think, a Faraday cage. All right. So the next one I think that we want to talk about is Faraday cage and the EMI shielding. All right. So this is a nice long live stream about EMF shielding, EMI, shielding. And we will have a discussion on that. And there's links of where you can go to get shielding, where you can go to get, help with shielding the electronics. And I'm going to go into what the heck is it? I'm going to go into what a Faraday cage is. Thank you. That's what I needed to remember. All right. So on that cheery note, I want you all to have a great rest of your day. I'm going to play our theme song. Hug a tree. Yep. Turn that off. Turn this on. Turn you off. Turn you on. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here.
She's got magic in her pink little palms. She's got color in her cheeks when she looks around at me. She's got wild eyes, she's a fairy child, and she put a little spell on me. She wanna dance in the sun. I'm a girl and I'm fun. Shot her with a water gun. Got me feeling like the one. She wanna dance in the sun. I'm a girl and I'm fun. Shot her with a water gun. Got me feeling like the one. Watermelon for my pretty baby, please. She's a stunner on the beach. Golden hair flows in the breeze. Summer movie in the afternoon, spinning circles in her dress for me. She wanna dance in the sun. I'm a girl and I'm fun. Shot her with a water gun. Got me feeling like the one. She wanna dance in the sun. I'm a girl and I'm fun. Shot her with a water gun. Got me feeling like the one. She wanna dance in the sun. I'm a girl and I'm fun. Shot her with a water gun.
Okay, that's it. That's the end of the show. All right, thank you everyone for being here. Much appreciated.
The holidays are going to be very different this year,
No,
so it's more
they're
important
not.
than ever to stay connected.
They always suck anyway. All right, so thank you. I very much appreciate everyone for being here. Much love, and thank you for your support. And I appreciate everyone for being here. It's that simple. Have a great rest of your night. Share, like this, subscribe. Tell people about this. Go to my my channel, my content. Look through videos. I have all kinds of videos, and I also take requests on videos of songs that you'd like to see. I'm not songs. I'm sorry. Of subjects you'd like to see. All right. So on that cheery note, thank you all for being here. I very much appreciate it. Have a great and wonderful rest of your day. And I'm likely going to be back tomorrow doing a live stream on something. Hopefully it'll be on something you'll appreciate. So on that cheery note, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Have a great, wonderful rest of your night. Much love and support. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone, especially you too, Bradley. Thank you.